deep beneath the shadows of the Great War, forgotten clashes silently redrew the entire global map.
These are the top 10 forgotten First World War battles that permanently altered modern history.
Number 10. The desert clash that fractured an ancient empire.
1918. Palestine.
Allied cavalry dramatically overwhelmed entrenched opposing forces, permanently erasing ancient imperial borders. Exhausted soldiers marched through smudged, dry earth, executing a brilliantly coordinated deception against the defenders.
The swift, relentless advance completely shattered the enemy lines, forcing a massive and chaotic retreat. This decisive victory permanently vanquished a centuries-old superpower, fundamentally reshaping the modern Middle Eastern territories. While empires crumbled in the desert heat, another fierce struggle erupted in the rugged mountains.
Number 9. A brutal mountain defense that shocked the world.
1914, Sir Mountain, Serbia. Heavily outnumbered defenders fiercely repelled a massive, unexpected Imperial invasion force.
The fierce resistance completely shattered the enemy advance, forcing a massive, humiliating Imperial withdrawal. This unexpected triumph marked the very first major Allied victory, entirely altering the Balkan front. A seemingly small mountainous clash effectively delayed an entire empire from dominating the region. While mountains held firm, our next forgotten clash erupted deep within dense, unforgiving tropical jungles.
Number 8. A jungle disaster, previewing our ultimate map-altering nightmare.
1914, German East Africa. A massive invasion force landed confidently, expecting an incredibly swift victory. Instead of a simple surrender, they encountered fierce, highly organized resistance from severely outnumbered defenders. The advancing troops were quickly overwhelmed, stumbling blindly through the thick, disorienting tropical vegetation. The catastrophic defeat permanently secured the colonial borders, humiliating a supposedly invincible global empire. The invasion force was ultimately eliminated, not just by artillery, but by an unexpected swarm of enraged swarms of wild jungle bees mercilessly attacked both sides, causing absolute, terrifying battlefield chaos.
The invading forces desperately evacuated, abandoning massive stockpiles of valuable weapons and essential military supplies.
Number 7. The steep mountain assault that shattered an empire.
1918, Macedonia. Allied forces launched a daring, massive offensive up dangerously steep, heavily fortified mountains.
An unprecedented, overwhelming artillery barrage completely neutralized the deep trenches of the exhausted defending armies.
The decisive breakthrough forced an entire nation to surrender, unzipping the entire southern European front.
Number 6. The distant coastal clash, erasing an Asian empire.
1914, Shandong, China. A massive combined Allied fleet heavily bombarded a completely isolated Imperial stronghold. Cut off from global reinforcements, the heavily outnumbered garrison desperately defended their dusty coastal positions.
The besieged fortress stood firm against artillery until they looked up and witnessed the first.
Primitive seaplanes launched from distant ships executed the very first successful naval airstrikes in modern history.
The overwhelming victory permanently erased a major European colonial power entirely from the Asian continent.
While distant empires vanished, our countdown of map-altering clashes is only reaching the halfway point.
Number 5. An Alpine collapse, rivaling our ultimate map-altering nightmare.
1918, Northern Italy. A massive Allied offensive struck an already starving, deeply exhausted Imperial army. The sudden, overwhelming pressure completely fractured the enemy lines, sparking a rapid, catastrophic military collapse.
Mutinies erupted instantly across the ranks, completely dissolving the once mighty Austro-Hungarian military machine.
This monumental defeat permanently erased a centuries-old empire, birthing multiple new independent nations overnight.
The Italian front fell silent, but across the globe, an intercepted message was about to.
The intercepted transmission fully exposed a massive, highly classified flanking maneuver through treacherous, freezing Alpine passes.
This critical intelligence allowed defending forces to rapidly prepare for a seemingly impossible, devastating winter assault.
While intercepted messages secured victories, our next forgotten clash entirely froze a massive, ambitious Imperial invasion.
Number 4. The frozen mountain graveyard that shattered an empire.
1914. The Caucasus. Arrogant commanders marched their massive armies into a sub-zero blizzard. Severely lacking proper winter equipment, tens of thousands tragically succumbed to the extreme, overwhelming freezing temperatures. The surviving, critically weakened invaders were quickly overwhelmed by highly adapted, firmly entrenched mountain defensive units. This catastrophic, freezing defeat permanently halted ambitious Imperial expansion into the vital resort. Entire military divisions were completely eliminated by the brutal weather before ever firing a single shot.
The freezing mountains secured the eastern map, but deep inside a dense, dark European forest.
Number 3. The dark forest ambush that crushed an empire.
1914, East Prussia. Defenders executed a massive, brilliant encirclement deep within the dense, disorienting ancient woodlands.
The enormous invading army was completely divided and systematically neutralized across the treacherous, weathered forest terrain. Intercepted, unencrypted radio messages directly allowed commanders to perfectly anticipate every desperate enemy tactical movement.
Surrounded and utterly overwhelmed, nearly 100,000 exhausted soldiers surrendered amidst the smudged, dry earth. The tragic commanding general vanished entirely into the dark woods, unable to face the catastrophic defeat.
This devastating defensive triumph firmly secured national borders, fundamentally shifting the entire Eastern military balance.
While the dark forests swallowed armies, our next monumental clash.
Number 2. A vast desert uprising, previewing our ultimate map-altering nightmare.
1916. Arabia. Outnumbered insurgents launched a brilliant guerrilla campaign directly against. By systematically severing vital railway supply lines, the isolated Imperial garrisons were completely neutralized. This relentless desert campaign permanently fractured the ancient Imperial hold, completely redrawing Middle Eastern borders. While desert fighters reshaped the East, our ultimate forgotten battle completely dismantled the Western Front.
Number 1. The Black Day that permanently collapsed an empire.
1918. Amiens, France. Allied forces launched a massive, heavily armored surprise offensive through thick morning fog. Unprecedented coordination between advancing infantry and rolling armor completely overwhelmed the exhausted defending trenches. The sudden technological superiority entirely shattered Imperial morale, forcing an unprecedented, chaotic mass surrender. This devastating single-day collapse effectively doomed the opposing military machine, accelerating the final armistice.
The resulting peace treaties forcefully redrew the entire global map, entirely dismantling multiple ancient empires.
The brutal war finally ended. But as these new borders were hastily drawn, a terrifying.
The resulting rushed peace treaties aggressively carved up ancient territories without any regard for historical cultural boundaries. 4 massive, previously invincible global empires were completely erased from the map in less than 5 years. Millions of displaced survivors suddenly found themselves living in entirely new, completely unfamiliar sovereign nations overnight. These deeply forgotten clashes did not simply end a monumental war. They completely rewired global geopolitics forever.
Eventually, the shifting sands of time completely buried the immense sacrifices made in these distant, isolated trenches.
History books frequently highlight the massive Western stalemates, leaving these crucial, map-altering victories entirely in the shadows. Yet, the modern world we occupy today was forged directly within these intensely brutal, overlooked military campaigns.
Exhausted veterans returned to completely unfamiliar homelands, watching their ancient cultural identities get casually erased.
The war to end all wars fundamentally failed to bring lasting peace to the smudged, dry earth.
Millions sacrificed everything in these obscure trenches, permanently drawing the very lines we fiercely defend today.
Their forgotten courage in the mountains, jungles, and deserts ultimately forged our entire modern geopolitical reality.
The maps finally changed, but the immense human cost will forever stain the shadows of time. Don't get left behind when the next siren wails. Subscribe to War Cinema 4K now.